transition now to another team. Actually, just mentioned them at the end of this last segment, the Las Vegas Raiders. A lot of buzz around them. Of course, with their offseason moves, they've been doing a great job staying competitive in the AFC West. But the big notable signing was Davante Adams. And Davante Adams has had a lot of interesting quotes, a lot of interesting things to say, especially recently. He kind of made a comparison between Derek Carr and Aaron Rodgers. But the main point he was making was that anytime you are transitioning from one quarterback to the next, there's going to be an adjustment period. Now, a lot of media outlets ran with the notion that Davante Adams was claiming that Derek Carr is a Hall of Famer, similar to Aaron Rodgers being a Hall of Famer. That's not exactly what he was saying. What he was saying was that Derek Carr is on a Hall of Fame path, like his former quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, and the fact that you've got two special quarterbacks going to be throwing it to him, he was simply making the case that there's going to be an adjustment period. And that was his main point. But whether it's two regular standard Joe quarterbacks or whether it's two Hall of Fame quarterbacks, there's going to be a transition period. Now, obviously, Davante Adams, we know he's had history with Derek Carr. There's a special relationship there. The two of them were college teammates at Fresno State. So it's understandable that he would speak so glowingly about Derek Carr. That's not a surprise. It's not just to prop up your quarterback. They also have a legitimate relationship and perhaps bromance between the two. So he's saying all the right things. He is pumping up his teammate. I've got no issue with that. It begs the question, where will Derek Carr be in several years? Is he, in fact, on pace to make the Hall of Fame? And I think it's so difficult to be a prognosticator in this situation, to try to project out into the future, to predict what this guy is going to be in the next several years, because Derek Carr is only 31. So whatever opinion you have about him now, whatever opinion I'm going to share about him now, there is still a lot more room on the canvas for him to paint the entire picture. So I want to preface that by saying that nothing is etched in stone. The slab is still wet. It's still cooling. There's still room to expand it and to manipulate that stone slab. But when I look at Derek Carr, I think it's important to remember that there are a lot of examples of guys in the NFL who started their careers certain ways, but they finished a lot stronger. And because of that, it's managed to catapult them and propel them into a stratosphere that perhaps we wouldn't have seen them in any other circumstance. I think when you look at a guy like Derek Carr, he just completed his 8th season in the NFL. He's about to embark on his 9th season. Oftentimes, we overlook what Derek Carr's had to deal with as far as his surroundings. Because I actually have been really impressed with Derek Carr. I think he's had a really, really solid career when you give the fact, or consider the fact, that this is someone that's had to deal with so much turmoil around him. There's been so much lack of structure and management within the Las Vegas Raiders organization during the time that he's been there. There have been so many off-the-field transgressions, the John Gruden fiasco, players getting suspended, players getting cut because of, again, off-the-field issues. And he's had to traverse all of that, and yet he has still managed to be the consummate professional, be the consummate leader, and he's been producing on the field. Now, again, does that mean that right now, at this very moment in time, would he be elected into the Hall of Fame? No. But remember, this is someone who, over the course of his time with the Raiders, he's made the postseason twice. In 2016, he had arguably the best season of his career. He was a finalist for MVP, finished 3rd in the rankings as a finalist. But what happened was he suffered a broken fibula in week 16 against the Colts. and the Raiders lost to the Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson in the divisional game, or in the wild card game, rather. But then you look at last year, he threw for his most passing yards. And in fact, the last 4 years for Derek Carr, he's been on this incredible trajectory where he's eclipsed 4,000 yards in all 4 seasons, and his completion percentage has been through the roof, been the best of his career the last 4 years. He is throwing 69%, 70%, 67%, and 68% over the last 4 years. Those are astonishingly high numbers, however you slice it. So what's hurt him, and again, as we know, the Hall of Fame is not simply about your individual success, but it's also works in concert with your team success. So much about guys qualifying and being accepted into the NFL Hall of Fame, and really in any sport, has to do with the team success. Did you perform well individually, and how did you do as a team? How did you elevate your team? And what's hurt Derek Carr the most is the team success, is the lack of team success specifically, because 5 seasons they finished below 500. Only 1 season in 2020 did they finish 500 at 8-8. So when we look at certain guys, and in particular how a team's success has helped elevate their status, there's no better example than Eli Manning. Because Eli Manning, obviously, within the first 5 years of his career with the Giants, he won a Super Bowl in 2008. They dismantled and upended this undefeated season quest by the New England Patriots. And then in his 9th season, in 2012, the Giants won again. They beat the Patriots again. But Eli Manning, in the eyes of many, is a borderline Hall of Famer. Not everyone views Eli Manning as a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer, or even a Hall of Famer at all, because his stats through his first 8 years in the league actually aren't more impressive than Derek Carr. Derek Carr's had more impressive numbers over the first 8 seasons of his career. So then why do we view Eli Manning in this certain way? Well, he's performed in certain huge moments, and he's helped lead his team in 2 incredible postseasons to 2 improbable Super Bowls. And that's why we view him in the light that we do. But the point is, he's only had 2 years in which Derek Carr, speaking of, has led the Raiders to the postseason. So the lack of a lot of postseason success has been the biggest inhibitor that's impeding perhaps his path to reaching the Hall of Fame. But I don't think that we've taken into account, again, perhaps the lack of talent that he's had to deal with. And now we're going to really be able to evaluate him over the next 2 years, because he no longer has Tony Sparano or Jack Del Rio or John Gruden or Rich Bisaccia as his head coach. He now has Josh McDaniels, who I think is going to be a lot better with the Raiders. He's an offensive mind. They've got a lot of offensive pieces with Davante Adams and Henry Ruggs, and not Henry Ruggs. Unfortunately, he is an example of one of the guys that had off the field transgressions. But Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs, they've got a lot of talent with Derek Carr, and that offense is going to be electric, I think, this upcoming year. But this is going to be the most talent he's ever had to work with. Again, there's only a handful of guys in their first several years in the league where you can already say, okay, they're Hall of Famers. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes are the most notable recent examples of that type of early success. Most guys don't attain that type of success that quickly in their career. It takes them several years, perhaps into that second, third contract, to achieve the type of team success that's warranted to be considered a Hall of Famer. So as of right now, at age 31, do I think that he is going to make the Hall of Fame? No, I don't. But again, he still has plenty of runway left to work with. And I don't think it's inconceivable that perhaps if he can attain a lot of team success in the next several years, that our perception may change. Just ask Matthew Stafford what winning that 1 Super Bowl did for him in his legacy, in his career. I think perhaps that solidified him as a future Hall of Famer. Could there be a similar effect on Derek Carr if he's able to win? I think there might. I think there might be. So I'm not going to rule it out just yet. I am eager to see how he ends up performing with the Raiders over the next couple of years. I've always really liked Derek Carr. I think he's a tremendous leader. He possesses all the intangibles needed. He also is very talented. There's a strong argument to be made that he's a top 10 quarterback. I think you can wrestle with a couple guys, perhaps the Lamar Jacksons, the Kyler Murrays, depending on where you view him. But he's a tremendous, tremendous quarterback. Tremendous quarterback.